Hey guys, Dr.NostalgiaGamer here again. Today I'm going to be doing the next installment of the video game room tour. Today I will be going over the Sega Saturn, the Sega Dreamcast, as well as the PlayStation 1. Alright, so let's start off with a quick pan of my Sega Saturn collection. I'm just going to do a quick pan, and it will be quick, of the Saturn stuff that I own. And now I'll do a little bit more careful. Panzer Dragoon, Duke Nukem 3D, Virtua Fighter 2, Daytona USA, NBA Action, Live 97, NHL Powerplay 96, NHL All-Star Hockey, NHL 97, NFL Quarterback Club 97, and Madden 98. And I also have two loose games as well, Virtua Fighter 2 and a bootleg sampler of the Sega Saturn. So now I'll be going through my top most valuable Sega Saturn games, since I only have a total of 13 games in my collection, which by the way is worth about $170. I'm going to just go through the top 3 most valuable games I own. The third most valuable game that I own on the system is a copy of Virtua Fighter 2 Complete. Case is all cracked up. That's one thing that's really hard about Saturn games, is finding games where cases aren't severely cracked and don't look terrible. Now this game isn't worth all that much. It's only worth about $15 complete. I actually have a copy of this loose on the Saturn as well, and I believe this case is broken. No, it's not. Okay, that's nice. So it is complete, obviously, and then I got the game with it too. Sega Saturn game cases are really cool. I love how big they are. I love the colors on the side of it and stuff like that. But yeah, so this guy's worth about $15. Next up is probably one of my favorite games to play. Honestly, I think it's a lot of fun and it's really cool, is Duke Nukem in 3D. This game is awesome. Duke Nukem is probably one of the most badass video game characters of all time. He's a dick and he knows it and he owns it. So it's really cool. It's an awesome game, lots of fun. Graphics are terrible, but it's good for back then. Graphics are terrible, but honestly it kind of adds to the nostalgia of this game, the fact that the graphics are so bad. And there's a lot of really adult humor in this game, which is the reason why it's rated M for mature. And this guy actually, as of the last time I checked it, complete, which I do have it complete. As you can see, the case is broken, which, like I said, is common with Sega Saturn games, unfortunately. This guy complete is worth about $40, which is a lot for one game. So this is actually probably one of my it's definitely in my top 10 most valuable games in my collection. So. And next up is probably a combatant for the most valuable game in my collection, and that is Panzer Dragoon. Not Panzer Dragoon Saga, don't get too excited. Panzer Dragoon Saga, which I got really excited when I first got this game, but Panzer Dragoon Saga is worth, I think the last time I checked, a couple $100. This is Panzer Dragoon, so it's the same series, but it's just not the Saga collection part of it. So this game's really cool. The graphics are absolutely beautiful on this game. Considering that it was, I mean, if you compare that initial scene where you're flying on the back of the dragon, that scene alone is just absolutely stunning graphically, compared to something like Duke Nukem, which has, in my opinion, pretty terrible graphics considering the time in which it came out. But yeah, so this game is worth about $50 complete as of the last time I looked it up, and I do have it complete. Really pretty game, awesome graphics. Okay, so next up is going to be my Sega Dreamcast stuff, which once again is not very big, so I'll go over it quickly. Resident Evil, Army Men, some sports games, Rainbow Six games, Royal Rumble, and I have one game loose, and that is NFL 2001. So my third most valuable Sega Dreamcast game is going to be Tom Clancy's Rogue Spear. I have never been a huge fan of the Tom Clancy games, honestly. I remember back before I really was into console gaming, I used to game on the PC back in probably the really early 2000s, maybe even the late 90s. And my dad had a lot of Tom Clancy games, and I was never a big fan of them. I definitely liked Call of Duty a lot more. I was never a big fan of the Tom Clancy games. But yeah, so I have this game complete on the Dreamcast, and this guy retails for about $12. Next up is Army Men, Sarges Heroes by Midway. This is a pretty cool little game. It's definitely an interesting concept. You play as little green army men from back in like the 80s, back when everybody had them. Even I had them as a kid. I loved them. And so this guy is worth about $15. And then finally, for the Sega Dreamcast, is definitely my favorite game that I own on the Dreamcast, and that is Resident Evil Code Veronica, made by Capcom. And this is actually a 2-disc game. So when you first open it, you've got disc 1, and then I believe it pops open on the side here somehow, if I can figure it out. There we go, yeah, so it folds from back. And then you've got disc 2. Really cool game. Definitely a big one in the Resident Evil series. Definitely the best game on the Dreamcast that I own, and this guy is definitely the most valuable as well, because it's worth about $20 complete. So next up is my PlayStation 1, which is much larger, so I'll get to do a little bit more. So I'll do a quick pan of that real quick, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how much I have. Some loose stuff down there as well. Looks like I have about 79 games, so just under 80 PlayStation 1 games total, the majority of which are complete, and the collection is worth about $530. So now I'll do a little bit more careful pan here so you guys can get a better idea of what I actually own. PlayStation 1 is probably one of my favorite systems to collect for, just because, I think I've said this before in a video, just simply for the fact that it's kind of in that sweet spot of collecting where people haven't quite realized that this stuff is, or it one day will be, worth a lot more. So it's definitely one of those systems that is good to keep an eye out for games, rare games in good shape. Now it's time for my top 10 most valuable PlayStation 1 games. Starting off with number 10 is No One Can Stop Mr. Domino. This is a really weird sort of game. I actually picked this up, made by Acclaim. Picked this up on my most recent pickups video. And this guy, you play as a fella named Mr. Domino, who is apparently in a 3D puzzle strategy type game. Very, very different. I actually haven't really had an opportunity to quite play this yet. It seems really cool and interesting, though. I do have it complete, and this guy sells for about $12. Next up is Felony 1179 on the PlayStation 1, made by ASCII Entertainment. What a weird name. Difficult to say. But yeah, so this is Felony 1179. You play as a you are racing, I believe, is the idea behind the game, and you are trying to run into other cars and cause lots of damage and fun and stuff like that. But yeah, so this guy I do as well have complete, although once again, another issue with these plastic cases is that they break. A lot of my stuff comes from thrift shops and Goodwills and stuff like that, so a lot of times the cases and stuff are broken, unfortunately. But yeah, so this guy with the broken case is worth about $12 or so. Next up is a game that I think I actually got as a kid. I think I have a photo of me with this game as a kid. Is Rampage Through Time, made by Midway. I played the crap out of this game when I was a kid. I thought it was loads of fun. I really liked it. Definitely a cool, interesting game. You play as one of 3 different monsters. You're running through different cities, trying to cause as much damage and destruction as you possibly can. There is an awesome 2-player game as well. I remember playing this game with my sister. I used to make her play it because she didn't want to play it. She thought it was kind of scary, but I loved this game and thought it was a lot of fun. And this guy's worth about $12. And this is actually one I had as a kid, so it's pretty cool. This is very nostalgic for me. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's some residue on it. But that's a piece of duct tape that I stuck to the front of it when I tried to sell it at a yard sale a few years ago and didn't sell it. And I'm glad I didn't, because now that I collect this stuff again, it's cool to be able to have it. So next up is Rayman 2: The Great Escape for the PlayStation 1. Kind of a classic Rayman game. There's sort of a cult following behind Rayman. It's an interesting game. It says Rayman's back in an enormous 3D adventure. So, pretty cool little game, and this guy is also complete, and it's worth about $12 to $15. Next up is one of my favorite. I love the multi-disc big box PlayStation games. They're my favorite. I think that they look really cool sitting on the shelf with them being so large. This is The Legend of the Dragoon. on the PlayStation 1. Unfortunately, it's a greatest hits version, which are never worth as much. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. I believe it's sort of an RPG type of game. Apparently, it even says right here, easily one of Sony's most impressive products yet, as put out by PlayStation Magazine. One-player game. It actually is a 4-disc game, but unfortunately, I'm missing disc 1. Of all discs to be missing, it's disc 1 that I'm missing. I have disc 2, I have disc 3, and I have disc 4 all there, but I am missing disc 1 as well as the manual. So, but yeah, so this guy's pretty cool. With the missing disc, I estimate this guy being worth about $12 to $15. Next up is one I didn't expect to be worth any money, honestly, and that is Blast Lacrosse for PlayStation 1, put out by Acclaim Sports. This is a sports game that apparently is worth a decent amount of money. I am not a fan of this game. I've played it a couple times. I don't like the mechanics. It's not very good in my opinion. And I do also have this guy complete as well, and this guy sells for about $15 complete. Next up is another sports game I didn't expect to be in the stack, and that is Cool Borders. This one is actually made by Sony. Down here, as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that label or not. But so this one's made by Sony. You play as a snowboarder. It's actually a pretty cool game. This one's one of probably the better sports games that I've ever played. Nice, really good graphics. Nice and fun to play. This guy is worth about $15 as well. And I do actually have it complete. Next up is probably one of the cooler games I have on it, and that is Final Fantasy VIII by Squaresoft. This game's really cool. Once again, it's another big box, multiple cart game. I love these. I love the ones that have multiple discs because they're harder to find complete, they're harder to find in working condition, and they tend to be worth a little bit more money on average. So this guy is worth about $15. I do have it completely complete. I've got disc 1, I've got the manual, disc 2, and then I've got disc 3 and the mini walkthrough booklet as well, all complete. Very cool, and like I said, it's worth about $15. Next up is probably one of my favorites on the PlayStation, and that is Resident Evil 2 by Capcom. Resident Evil, like I said, is one of the biggest series on the PlayStation. It's probably one of the series that most people know the PlayStation for. Also a big box game. Love these. Once again, I think they're so cool. Love that center panel there. Can you survive the horror? That alone is awesome. So, very, very cool little game. A lot of fun. And you can see I got disc 1 and the manual. This is only a 2-disc game, but I got disc 1 and the manual, and then disc 2. Pretty discs on these as well. That's the other reason why I like the PlayStation 1 is they have really beautiful discs. They just look really nice. So especially the Resident Evil series. So yep, got that complete, and this guy is worth about $15 as well. And then we have my most valuable game on the PlayStation 1, which is Silent Hill by Konami. Silent Hill was sort of Konami's way of fighting against the Resident Evil series. You know, you're playing in sort of a twisted, messed up kind of world. You can read the tag there at the bottom. Every town has its secrets. Some are darker than others. So very freaky, sort of paranormal type of game. I do own it complete. And this guy complete is worth about $30. I just bent the case there. But yeah, so this guy's worth about $30 complete on the PlayStation 1. Alright guys, well that's it for this episode of Dr. Nostalgia Gamer. Hope you guys enjoyed this installment of the Game Room Tour. I will see you guys next time.